Very good afternoon. Is my screen visible? Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Both, yes.
So I go directly to the next slide. The scleral buckling for rhegmatogenous retinal detachment, the outcome depends on many factors. As we discussed, especially for the beginners, the case selection and understanding the retinal detachment configuration is very crucial. Thorough pre-fundus evaluation is a must, because in BG-OPD, many times we skip cases and try to finish quickly. So it's very important to take time to understand the morphology and find out all the primary and the associated breaks for a successful outcome. Finally, on table, the primary break, the primary lesion need to be treated, need to be supported on the buccal hump, and has to be flat on the buccal. Addressing the residual fluid communicating with the break also is important. Finally, management of complications on table or during follow-up. As we can see here, this the case of 40-year-old male with a bullous RD, and there is a break here, lattice with a break here. So one may consider a pneumoretinopathy or scleral buckle. Actually, a closer look revealed that there are multiple small holes at the periphery as well. So these are the cases, and the vitreous is PVD is not clinically, PVD is not there. Young patient, phakic patient, the treatment of choice should be scleral buckle. The fundus preoperative fundus evaluation, I stress it again, is very crucial. Takes time, laborious, but it gives you in terms of the good result and good outcome. It helps one to find out last minute change in the retinal detachment configuration. I remember a case of PVD induced retinal break and detachment. So I saw 2 days ago in the OPD, and the day of surgery, just before I posted for scleral buckle, and just before anesthesia, and when I saw there were multiple rows of retinal breaks, and now it is no more buckleable. So it's very important to reconfirm the configuration pre-op. Now, drawing the fundus helps one to determine the primary break, where it is located, and all the associated retinal lesions that need to be addressed during the surgery. During the surgery, it reduces the time in localization of the break and hastens the surgery. We all know that during surgery, the cornea becomes hazy, then you miss a easy break. So this fundus drawing is crucial for a successful outcome. Evaluation of the vitreous status is also important. As we can see here, young phakic patients with formed vitreous are the ones ideal for scleral buckle. The vitreous here acts as a biotamponade for the break. The detachment tends to progress slower, and they do well with scleral buckle. Now, in terms of rhegmatogenous retinal detachment, I would request you all to understand the two types of retinal detachment that is seen. One with a tear, where horseshoe tear, where the vitreous is still attached with the break margin, and usually these breaks are these breaks enlarge, the detachment progress faster. They are associated with liquefied vitreous, and there are chances of multiple breaks. So the vitrectomy is a better choice compared to the break where you see a very small atrophic break, as we can see in the figure B, and where the vitreous is separated, and these detachments tend to be small and they progress very slow. They are very good candidate for scleral buckle. The picture here shows a 14-year-old male, the right eye, old RD, post-trauma, vitreous is still attached, not separated, thin retina, subretinal gliosis, peripherally there is a dialysis not shown here, and the form vitreous. The treatment of choice would be scleral buckle. Sometimes the retina is so thin, attempt to go inside to vitrectomy, remove all the bands and settle it can be counterproductive at times. 24-year albinotic male with rhegmatogenous retinal detachment, macula on temporal break, RRD, we anticipate that the laser burns might not come well, and the vitreous separation would be difficult as there is no PVD yet. So posted for scleral buckle, non-drainage procedure. The brake was supported over the buckle, but there was a little bit of a jet of fluid communicating with the subretinal fluid, communicating with the brake. So a gas bubble was given and the patient was positioned. The gas bubble got displaced, but subretinal fluid stayed for a long period of time, up to 4 to 5 months, and finally settled. So we did not take this patient again for the surgery because I was sure that the primary pathology is supported on the buckle, and after the gas got absorbed, there was no fluid communicating with the brain. Sometimes you come across a badly traumatized eye where the retina almost becomes necrotic, and as you can see, it rolls back, as we can see here. So these retina are so friable that when one goes inside and does vitrectomy while removing vitreous, one can eat away the retina. So again, these are the cases where I usually prefer scleral buckle or a buckle with vitrectomy, as we can see here. And this is the 6 weeks post-surgery. The brake is supported well. Blunt trauma with sieve-like multiple retinal break, as we can, the previous one, we saw a very large break, large and inferior break. Here there are multiple retinal breaks. Again, chronic detachment, the scleral buckle is the treatment of choice. Now, vitrectomy is preferred for cases with acute PVD, bullous retinal detachment, multiple ongoing breaks. Acute PVD can land with multiple breaks in the subsequently. Multiple non-buckleable tears or pseudophakic retinal detachment, or a large posterior break. Extensive PVR more than grade C2, again another relative indication for vitrectomy, except the stop and go type of chronic detachment, where we can see here is a small break where the detachment happens, then stops there for some more time, then slowly progresses with subretinal band. Even if it is the grade C PVR, still here the buckle is the treatment of choice. Pseudophakic retinal detachment, usually vitrectomy is my preference over scleral buckle because of higher chance of advanced vitreous liquefaction and PVD because of old age, absence of crystalline lens, and usually majority had PVD by more than 70 to 80% of cases after 6 months. Capsular opacification can hinder peripheral view. Small, tiny breaks can happen posterior to the ora serrata that can be missed with indirect ophthalmoscopy. So usually here the vitrectomy is preferred over scleral buckle. Complex retinal detachment, like here, the one is showed here where we have a big, large area of avascularity, large, broad prolif adhering to the retina. And, sometimes vitrectomy alone might be difficult, and vitrectomy with buckle and a broad band to support the avascular retina is a good option. So buccal vitrectomy, these are my indications: very large inferior and anterior break, complex RDs, as we saw here, FEVR, ROP, or big retinal angiomas sitting at the periphery, or a very firmly adherent large peripheral prolif over a ischemic retina, where during dissection one can turn away the retina. These are the cases where I prefer scleral buckle along with the vitrectomy. Sometimes young myope with rows of extensive lattices and multiple breaks, both posterior and anterior, again, the combination therapy is preferable. Settling retina with scleral buccal vitrectomy, to summarize, the young age, small atrophic buccaleable hole, shallow detachment, attached hyaloid, scleral buccal is the preferred choice. Rhegmatogenous retinal detachment with advanced PVR, vitrectomy preferable over buccal, except grade C PVR with extensive subretinal band. Fluid vitreous, bullous RD, hazy media, posterior multiple breaks, pseudophakic RD, vitrectomy is my preference over buccal. Of course, high myopic RDs, scleral buccal or vitrectomy depending upon the extent of the lesions, location of the lesion, extent of lattices, vitreous status. Finally, for complex RD with progressive vitreoretinal traction, combination of therapy works well. I thank you all for the opportunity and conclude my talk here.
Thank you, Tapas. Few questions. One question came for Dr. Krishnendu. Hello, Dr. Krishnendu?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah, one question came for you. somebody asked that like if there is no break, you depress and you find no break, so still you prefer to go for a scleral buckle, or like you prefer to go for vitrectomy?
First, I have to exclude the possibility of exudative detachment, whether
Exactly.
it is
No,
rigbadogenous
actually,
or exudative.
they mentioned that like, okay, we have excluded the exudative nature, but still we can't find any break. But clinically it's look like a regmatogenous retinal detachment. Okay.
Then I don't have any other option other than going for vitrectomy rather than
Okay.
doing scleral buckle.
Thank you. And one question for Dr. Tapas. How long you can wait for SRF before going for a vitrectomy?
Yeah, so usually if the primary break is well supported and the fluid is not communicating with the primary break, I can wait up to 2 years also. So usually the fluid goes off within 3 to 6 months, and sometimes they stay up to 2 years. And also I have seen cases where they go off after 2 years.
I totally agree.
Just I want to interfere. Do you don't think like that? Suppose the fluid is for a long time, there is irreversible changes in the photoreceptor layer. So in that case, still you prefer to wait for a long time?
Can I come in? Sorry. Can I come in?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I totally agree with Tapas. I totally agree with Tapas. Fluid we can tolerate fluid. I agree with you also. Of course, the fluid has the macula, and the macula is not attached. They definitely need to do surgery. I think what Tapas is referring to, fluid persisting posterior to the buccal, macula is attached, nothing more to be done. OCT shows macula attached. Leave it as it is. Leave the fluid there, and wait for 6 months at least. If macula is detached, I'm sure all of us will want to go in for resurgery at that point. Even if break is attached, and you'll have to see how much of difficulty the patient is causing for you, not vision for the patient. Patient is for you. I think we'll have to go for resurgery. I want to add one more point before I start. Break not found. I will be a little bit, if it's pseudophakic patient, I would be very quick on starting a vitrectomy immediately and putting in whatever I feel is necessary on table. But if it is a phakic young patient, I would put in a belt buckle also along with vitrectomy. Whether I'm using gas or oil is a different point altogether. But I would put in a belt buckle. If I'll plan for a belt buckle, I'll put in a belt buckle if I start my vitrectomy. That's one safety point I would do. Of course, all of us are doing less and less belt buckles nowadays.